Paano naman po natin malalaman kung nasa loob pa ng warranty period?
Pwede natin tignan yan sa warranty card. Kung ang walang express warranty, in other words, walang kasulatan dun sa period kung kailan ibabalik o ipapagawa ang produkto, meron tayong tinatawag na implied warranty. Implied warranty ito on hidden defects na hindi bababa sa 60 araw at hindi naman lalampas sa 1 taon.
Kailan naman po pwedeng papalitan ng nabiling produkto, Director?
Kung ilang beses na ipa-repair ang produkto at hindi pa rin nawala ang pagkasira nito, maaari nang palitan ang produkto.
Paano po kung hindi na ito mapalitan ng seller?
Dito papasok yung pangatlong right o karapatan ng consumer na kailangan na hong ibalik ng seller ang pinangbayad ng consumer kung hindi na ho kayang palitan o ipa-repair ang produktong nabili.
Maraming salamat, Director Marcos. O mga consumer, tandaan, basta nasa loob ng warranty period, pwedeng ipa-repair kung may sira o depekto. Kung hindi ma-repair o paulit-ulit nang ni-repair ngunit may depekto pa rin, pwede na po itong papalitan sa seller. At kung hindi na mapalitan, kailangan nang magbigay ng seller ng refund sa consumer. At yan ang kabuuan ng ating programa sa araw na ito. Paalala lamang po na ang impormasyong aming naibigay ay base lamang sa aming natanggap na salaysay at mga pangyayari na inilahad ni Ginoong Tan. Abangan muli ang Dear Consumer Care sa susunod na linggo. Ito po si Denzel Bonal na nagsasabing, wise ang consumer na may alam. Para sa updates, please like, follow, subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube accounts. That's DTI Consumer Care and DTI Philippines.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Happy Thursday, everyone. To all our participants sa Zoom and to everyone joining us via Facebook and YouTube Live, welcome to our 170th session ng Consumer Care Webinar. You can still invite your family, friends, and colleagues po to join this webinar and share the Zoom link. Muli pong nagbabalik ang paborito ninyong webinar series tuwing Martes at Huwebes, ang DTI Consumer Care Webinar. Para po sa ating bagong participants, ang programa pong ito ay inulunsad ng DTI Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau upang makapagbigay ng kaalaman tungkol sa mga napapanahong paksa na makakatulong sa atin para tayo ay maging wais, mapanuri at malayang mamimig. I am Una May Mortejo from the Consumer Policy and Advocacy Bureau and I will be your host for today. Para sa ating webinar ngayong umaga, tatalakayin po natin ang plastic credit exchange, PCX, and plastic offsetting. But before we begin, we would like to give some reminders. Please be informed po that this webinar session is recorded. So by continuing your participation, you are also consenting that you may be recorded. We are encouraging everyone to please stay until the end of this webinar at sabay-sabay tayong matuto sa topic natin ngayong umaga. Ang mga sumusunod na reminders po ay para masiguro na smooth ang ating session. Mangyaring palitan po ang format ng inyong pangalan, maaaring consumer space your complete name, or pangalan or acronym ng inyong kumpanya then your complete name. Please also turn off your mic and video during the webinar session unless you are requested by the moderator to speak. If you have any questions and comments po, we are encouraging everyone to click the raise hand button to directly address the speaker during the Q&A portion, or you may also send in your questions through the chat box. Lastly po, para sa mga naka-touch screen device, please avoid drawing or making annotations on the screen para hindi po ma-distract ang ibang mga participants, lalong-lalo na po ang ating speaker. So without further ado, let us begin this webinar session by singing the Philippine National Anthem to be followed by the Invocations.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas. Kayang magiliw, kaya sa sinangalan, alam ng puso, sa dinig mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, tuyagan ang magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisingil, sa nagatang tulog sa simoy at sa langit kaw-bagaw, ay ginatang tulagaw, isang pagkayang minamahal, ang isang matawad mo'y tagumpay na nag-iibig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lumang ang araw ng walang pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Ang hindi kaya na pagkay mga amin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Loving Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing as we are gathered together in this webinar. May your blessings of wisdom and guidance be upon us all for the sharing and impartation of knowledge and skills by our resource speakers, facilitators, and moderators. Bless also the participants so that they would be able to glean the information from this activity and share what we have learned in the spirit of your generosity. Lord, we bring you our prayers, our commitment, our gifts to you this day. Let us who have a keen dedication and awareness of your creation have courage and conviction that we are able to contribute to the sustainability of the earth. Inspire us as we make choices so that we will recognize the impact our lives have on our environment and our human family around the globe. Pour out your blessings upon us today, Lord. May each of our actions reveal our awareness that we are partners with you in the creation and sustainability of this earth that you have given to us to appreciate and enjoy. We ask this in the name of your Son. Amen.
Magandang umaga pong muli sa ating mga participants sa Zoom at sa mga nakatutok sa atin via Facebook and YouTube Live. Nais po namin ibahagi sa inyo ang ating topic ngayong umaga na pinamagatang Plastic Credit Exchange and Plastic Offsetting. Plastic Credit Exchange is a non-profit organization that partners with sustainability conscious businesses around the globe to responsibly offset their plastic footprint and reduce the flow of plastic waste. PCX believes in sustainable solutions to meet this challenge and views plastic offsetting as a means for businesses and individuals to take responsibility for produced plastic waste that enters the environment. This solution can be through an integrated set of activities that enables the aggregation, transport, treatment, processing, and disposal of plastic waste that gets diverted away from nature and prevents leakage into waterways and dump sites. Last August 2021, the DTI and PCX signed a memorandum of agreement to promote and develop measures on sustainable consumption and production. Through the MOA, DTI and PCX are collaborating to achieve the goal of reducing post-consumer plastic waste from landfills and oceans through responsible collection and processing. So to formally start our session for today, we would like to call on the Assistant Division Chief of the Consumer Advocacy Division, Ms. Vivian Alarcard. Good morning po, Ms. Vivian.
Good morning, Ms. Una, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 170th Consumer Care Webinar Series. And as mentioned by Ms. Una a while ago, our topic for today is plastic credit exchange and plastic offsetting. So ulitin ko lang po, PCX is a non-profit organization that partners with sustainability conscious businesses around the globe to responsibly offset their plastic footprint and reduce the flow of plastic waste. So ano po ba yung value ng ating webinar series for today para sa ating consumers? So it is for us to realize the state of plastic waste pollution in our country, and it is also for us consumers to be encouraged in curbing plastic pollution. Also, this is the session wherein we have to harness the support of the private sectors in engaging in plastic offsetting and assist in the development of policies and guidelines for responsible consumption. And lastly, to provide feedback and suggestions to decision makers and policy makers. So I encourage all our participants to take this opportunity to ask and clarify about the programs of PCX. So hindi ko na po patatagalin pa. Again, welcome and thank you po. Ms. Una,
Yes, thank you po, Ms. Vivian, for the opening remarks. Now to proceed with our program proper, allow me to introduce our speaker for today. She is a licensed chemical engineer who graduated cum laude from the Mapua Institute of Technology in Laguna. Her previous leadership roles and stint as the Market Environmental Sustainable Lead of the Nestle Philippines have equipped her with knowledge and expertise in sustainability and strategic project execution. Currently, she serves as the campaign manager of the Plastic Credit Exchange, who is responsible for the execution of the company's mission to be the pioneering plastic offset company in the region. She develops new business opportunities and industry offset partners through the exchange integrated platform. She is no other than Ms. Meg Ann Santos. Good morning po, Ms. Meg.
Good morning po. Thank you, Ms. Vivian, for the introduction, and thank you so much to DTICPAB for organizing this webinar. Good morning po sa lahat po na naka-join in this Zoom meeting, also on the live stream. I'm also joined by one of my colleagues, Mr. Richard de Guzman, who's our Standards and Compliance Manager as well. So later on po, after the presentation, if you have anything to clarify, Richard and I will be very happy to answer your questions. So let me start na po. To be respectful of everybody's time, please let me know po if you're able to already view my screen.
Yes po, Ms. Meg, we can now view your screen.
All right. So good morning, everyone. So for today, po, we'll be discussing about the work that we do at Plastic Credit Exchange, and definitely po about more information about the current problems that we are facing today, especially on the plastics issue.
So we really have a huge plastic problem, and this is a very complex problem. So the global plastic debt is more than 8 billion metric tons and counting. That means that by 2050, there could be more plastic by weight than fish in the ocean. And unfortunately, out of all the plastic that has ever been produced, only 9% has been recycled, 12% has been openly burned. So ito po yung mga biniburn with in very low temperatures, yung mga sinisigaan, which releases very harmful emissions. And the rest go to open dumps, landfills, or the natural environment. So a really majority of the plastics that we use and which end up after usage or post-consumer eventually end up in the natural environment. And we make matters worse because we are also recipients of imported waste. So aside po from dun sa mga pinaproduce nating plastic waste, developing countries are also recipients of developed countries' exported waste. And if nothing is done, again, we would like to stress the point that there will be more plastic than fish in the sea. And once macroplastics become microplastics, they are almost impossible to clean up. So summarizing that, out of again, aside from the statistics that show that it's a very complicated and complex problem. Aside from biodiversity loss and human health impacts, there's also a $100 billion financial risk as stated in the 2021 United Nations Environment Program report called From Pollution to Solution. So this only shows that we should be treating this as a crisis. This is a very immediate and urgent cause that we should all be fighting for. So aside from the climate crisis right now, this is very much part of that. There is a plastic waste crisis that needs our immediate attention. And aside from that, momentum is also building towards a circular economy for plastics. So in terms of consumer demands, consumers are really shifting their purchasing behavior into buying more eco-friendly or less packaging materials. In PricewaterhouseCoopers 2021 Global Consumer Insights Survey, they reported that 50 to 60% of the respondents would like to support brands or would like to buy products with less packaging. That's compared to just 2 years ago where only 37% responded favorably into supporting those types of brands. Aside from that, there's also regulatory tailwinds. 35 plus countries have introduced extended producer responsibility scheme. Philippines, we have already discussed that already on the Senate and on the Congress. Hopefully, we would have the extended producer responsibility already sooner than later. And just recently, on March 2nd, representatives from 175 nations endorsed a UNEA resolution to end plastic pollution. So aside from consumers demanding it, there's also great support from government. Aside from that, of course, there's also the private sector. So corporations are also increasingly expected by shareholders to take responsibility for their impact to society. So according to the BlackRock CEO in his 2022 letter, 6 out of the 10 FMCG companies have made commitments to reduce plastic packaging. So, if there's really, there's no single magic solution for the plastic pollution crisis. That's why there needs to be involvement of not just the private entity, but also government as well as the consumers as well. So all in all, however, despite all the verbal commitments to change, unfortunately, impact is incremental at best. So reviewing what we mentioned earlier, there's a very low percentage of recycling, even a lower percentage of reuse, and a lot of which really ends up in landfills, in incineration without energy recovery, and ecosystem leakage. So without system level change, current commitments could only reduce the plastic flow to ocean by 7%. And yung annual plastic production is expected to grow to 400 million metric tons per year by 2040. So it's really, really a huge problem. And if we do nothing about it, then sayang naman, we won't be able to experience cleaner environments, and it will eventually impact our health as well. So who we are, we're Plastic Credit Exchange. So, Plastic Credit Exchange right now has expanded to PCX solutions and PCX markets. And the origin story of PCX solution is still PCX. PCX is the world's first global nonprofit plastic credit program. So later on po, we'll have more discussion. What are plastic credits ba, and how do plastic credits or plastic offsetting help out in making sure that the plastic doesn't end up in nature? So we are founded in one of the epicenters of the plastic pollution crisis in the Philippines. What PCX Solutions does right now po is we also help companies advise them on how to map out and execute comprehensive solution sets over their short and medium long-term solutions. And on PCX markets, basically this is where we make it accessible for companies around the globe to be able to accelerate their global scale and impact, helping locations, geographies build infrastructure and clean up plastics. So our badge po reflects our mission. We want to accelerate the transition to a circular economy and build a future where no plastic waste ends up in nature. We've also released, and PCX was the first in the world to publish a standard called the Plastic Pollution Reduction Standard. So in this standard, we have set out a comprehensive approach to solution sets, meaning hindi lang po siya one solution. There's a varied solution set, a framework of approach where we work with a network of partners to provide a safe and transparent system of physically collecting, transporting, and processing plastic waste to prevent leakage into nature. So ito pong standard nito is something that we were able to share even to a global audience. This constantly evolves. We work on it very frequently to reflect the latest environmentally responsible solutions, government policies, and industry best practices in the markets that we operate in. So what exactly do we do po ba at PCX, and how do institutions like DTI, private partnerships take place po ba, or how important is that partnership in that network? So Plastic Credit Exchange makes sustainable plastic circularity a reality. So in the plastics problem po, there really are a lot of players. So we do have the raw material producers, as well as the sustainable material producers. Basically, these are the ones who are trying to find alternatives to plastic as well, whether they are using recyclable plastic or easily recyclable plastic, shifting to multi-layer material to monolayer material. We have plastic converters, yung mga gumagawa po ng nagko-convert po into usable plastic pellets. Plastic manufacturers, those who use the plastic converted into packaging or other types of products. And plastic users, yun naman po yung mga gumagamit ng plastic. So whether these are manufacturers, service providers, logistics, and of course the waste management, whether that's private or government run. So what we do at PCX is we want system change. We want to be able to mobilize system change through PCX by finding ways into expanding pathways. So building pathways to have more ways that we are able to reuse or recycle the plastic. So making it more circular and also reducing the pathways to landfills, incineration, and ecosystem leakage. So it's really a multi-pronged approach where we want to make sure that we are contributing to a more circular economy and also making sure that we are able to prevent and hopefully stop the leakage of plastic waste into nature. I'd like to show you a video of what plastic credit means and how it's part of the solution set at Plastic Credit Exchange. Oh, sorry.
We all agree plastic waste is a problem. So how can we ensure we keep it away from polluting nature? One of the answers is a reliable plastic offset program, which allows us to recover from the environment all the plastic we create. It starts when we buy credits in the amount of plastic we want to clean up. That money goes to an entire ecosystem of partners who work to collect, sort, recycle, and process plastic waste. This creates incentives that empower local communities through programs like Waste to Cash that build a more circular economy. Plastic waste can then be turned back into packaging, recycled products, alternative fuel, and infrastructure, among others. Plastic pollution is a global problem that requires a global solution. Be part of the change. Join the movement at plasticcreditexchange.com.
Yep. So basically po, that's what we do, no? So we work with a network of different partners and suppliers to make sure that we are able to collect post-consumer plastic and send it over to different recyclers, upcyclers, and co-processors so that it doesn't end up in nature. And we can only do that if we have a team of experts who understand the problem and how to solve it. So these are our team members, so the leadership of Plastic Credit Exchange. So our founder and executive chair is Ms. Nanette Medvedpo. So she's also founded Generation Hope, the Philippines' first B Corp company in the Philippines. So if you're familiar po with Hope in a Bottle, so it's a water business where 100% of its profits go into building public school classrooms. And they have also expanded their impact to not just classrooms, but also providing relief every time there is a calamity or an emergency, as well as distributing and planting more than 1 million coconut seedlings nationwide. So we are also led by our CEO, Sebastian, who has a lot of experience in terms of front-facing the brands. We have a team who's experts also on the side of tech, as you want to improve front-facing po. What would be the platform where this could be made possible on more global audience? And Vincent, who's our circular economy director, is leading PCX Solutions. So he has had a huge an extensive experience as being a global lead for WWF. So he's helping out companies really find ways to, aside from offsetting, find ways to be able to contribute to their sustainability goals. And of course, measuring impact. We do have our impact director. So she helps us track the impact, not just how much we clean up, but also ano po yung mga naitulong natin dun sa communities where we operate in. Of course, we are led by board directors and advisors who are also global experts in the field as well. So how does PCX work, and how do we work with private businesses and other entities naman po to really help make sure that we are cleaning up the post-consumer plastic waste? So it starts off with the plastic footprint, pledges from companies identifying what are their current goals, and we also help them audit their plastic footprint. So for example, this is very similar po with how extended producer responsibility is set out to be implemented, but at the moment where it's not yet mandatory, so it's a market-based mechanism where we are able to help businesses be responsible for their plastic footprint. So for example po, company A would have a commitment to net out and make sure that 100% of their plastic footprint is collected and diverted away from nature. So for example po, company A uses plastic in their production or in the providing of their services. We help them audit that plastic footprint, map out, account all of the plastic they used in their services or in their manufacturing to determine a baseline and understand how we can help them. And then we help them as well set goals and map out, considering short and medium long-term execution and other solutions that we can help them with, whether it's through offsetting or through finding ways that they can reduce their plastic or integrate, recycling back into their own supply chain. And then for any plastic that cannot yet be removed from their supply chain, kasi naintindihan naman po natin na it cannot be done overnight. Hindi agad-agad mapapalitan yung plastic na meron silang ginagamit, either for hygiene issues, for safety issues, or logistics issues, or limitations in available technology and infrastructure. We help them through activating the ecosystem. So through activating the ecosystem, what do? We help them clean up. So for example po, si company A earlier, their plastic footprint is 100 metric tons or 100,000 kilograms. So this is the amount of plastic that they cannot yet remove from their supply chain. So for them to be responsible for their plastic footprint, they need to clean up and help process the same amount. So through the plastic credit exchange, they can purchase 100 plastic credits. And through the investment we get from the purchase of that 100 plastic credits, we do a wide collection of post-consumer plastic waste. Later on, I'll show you po how as consumers and you can participate po in the collection of post-consumer plastic waste. So we do collections community-based po through our Waste to Cash program. We do have collections from shopping malls. We also do collections from landfill diversion, yung mga waste collection po from the trucks that go around who collect our garbage. And then working with our network of partners, we segregate the plastic depending on the request or the demand of the companies that we're working for. And we make sure na as much as we can, we really try to separate whatever can be recycled. We send that over to our recycling partners. Whenever we can, whenever possible, we send it over to upcyclers. So these are plastics which cannot be recycled due to limited infrastructure. And then for end-of-life plastics, ito na po yung plastics na can neither be recycled or upcycled. We send them over to partners who use the plastic as an alternative fuel to coal, into waste to energy operations. So in this way po, we're able to make sure that the plastic that we are able to collect do not end up in either landfills or in nature. So all of the impact that we have is verified and reported, and there's tracking through M&E system. So the companies that we are working with, as well as the general public stakeholders, will have access to everything related to that transaction. So, kunwari po yung mga truck receipts, delivery reports, where it was processed, who processed it, they will all have access to that documentation. It's through our blockchain registry, which we co-developed the first version with Microsoft Innovations Lab. And then for companies, definitely we encourage to pursue plastic neutrality or net zero plastic eco-labeling. These are the accounts that comply with the requirements of the plastic pollution reduction standards, and they can already communicate on pack to their consumers that they are part of the responsible consumption movement. And this is very much aligned po with the DTI's mission also into communicating and making sure that we are able to encourage our consumers to support brands who are doing something for the environment. Okay, so I think Mr. Jonathan Chua raised his hand. Yes, Mr. Jonathan?
Sir Jonathan, kindly please hold on your questions po. We will accommodate it during the Q&A portion po.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Apologies.
We'll get back to you, Sir Jonathan. My colleague and I will be able to answer your question po. So just to summarize in terms of how we enable the emerging plastic credit ecosystem. So again, for solutions, we definitely help out in making sure that we have projects that generate plastic credit. So working really with community projects, recyclers, processors, upcyclers, anybody and everybody who would like to help out and making sure that infrastructure is made available through the projects that we will be accrediting. And all of this will be through Pcx solutions in accordance with the plastic pollution reduction standard. So lahat po kasi ng projects that we are working with, we make sure na they are not just environmentally compliant, but they're also compliant with other safeguards as well. So this gives really the credibility po and the confidence that when we say that we are able to divert post-consumer plastic, these plastics really do not end up in nature and they are processed in environmentally sound technologies. And yung people, of course, are who are working in their companies are also taken care of. There's no child labor, etc. So in the markets, that's where we broker, buy and sell the plastic credits, make it available to credit buyers like branded corporates, industrial partners, even government and NGOs, events, consumers, whether that's on a voluntary basis or as a means to comply for extended producer responsibility mechanisms. So at PCX Markets, we enable plastic waste diversion from nature, circular economy investment, and social economic development. So really, in terms of the holistic impact across the plastic ecosystem, our key capabilities are really on making sure that the plastic credits are verified. So the credits are independently audited by third-party firms. Currently, we are working with Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers. We have direct partnership with community-based collection. Later on po, I'll talk more about the Alintindera program. Definitely, through our partners, we are able to invest back into the circular economy. PCX has B Corp pending status already. We are able to have a platform that matches supply and demand. So through technology, through the blockchain, we are working on making sure that this is accessible. Of course, definitely with a credit pricing model, and thankfully po, with our engagements with government, NGO, and industry, like how we have worked very closely with DTI, we're able to really help a lot of Philippine companies and hopefully be able to help more, as well as being able to offer these solutions outside of the Philippines as well. So we are a growing ecosystem. These are just some, not all, of the partners that we have who have helped us really collect post-consumer plastic and divert it. We do have advocacy partners, brand partners, processing partners, aggregating partners. It's a very complicated problem, and we really need anybody and everybody who's willing to help to be part of this platform and this network po. So built on the foundations of PCX, we're already making impact. So we have already diverted and processed more than 31 million kilograms and counting, have invested more than $2.7 million back into the circular economy. We were able to reduce emissions because we are from the replacement of coal. Instead of using coal, we're using plastic. And through the Alintindera program, which I'll be discussing next, we are able to work with 100% female micro-entrepreneurs, mga sari-sari store owners po. And on average, through the Alintindera program, we've seen a steady income increase of at least 63% and a 13% profit increase. And we wouldn't have done that without the partners po that we've shown you. So how can you be part of the solution? So first, if you are a brand, net zero plastic waste is a bold step worth taking. Definitely, we need stewards like you in this fight. It's a powerful way to signal your commitment to plastic pollution responsibility. Making sure that you are 100% responsible for your plastic footprint through plastic credits, and at the same time working on other solutions as well, like reducing your plastic footprint, recycling, recovery wherever you can. This is something that would definitely help. And through plastic credits or plastic offsetting, it also helps, clean up what 80 years worth of plastic existing already in the environment. So if you would like us to help you with that, we can help you measure your footprint. We can activate the solution sets, the one that we discussed earlier, verify your impact and wear your badge with pride, so that you may be able to see, and encourage consumers and also other stakeholders to be part of this. As citizens, di ba po, as individuals, how can we help? One of the ways that we can help po is through the Alintindera network. So, yung Alintindera program po is a program that was started by PCX. Right now, this is being led by Hope, where we work with sari-sari store owners po. So, we work with them to make them sustainability champions in their own respective barangays. we provide them, together with the partnership with grants as well as private companies, we're able to provide them container vans where they can store the plastic. We provide them with training, with manual balers, weighing scales, PPEs, etc. And starting capital. They're able to buy plastic, any type of plastic, as long as it's relatively clean and dry from their neighbors. And then we buy it from them at a premium. And then be the ones to send it over to either recyclers, co-processors, or upcyclers. So in this way po, nakakatulong na tayo mapalinis yung environment nila, the community earns, and the aling tindera earns as well. So I'd like to show you a short video about one of the aling tinderas that we have in the partnership that we have with one of our private partners who sponsored an aling tindera program.
Bilang aling tindera, mamimili ng mga sachet, plastic bottles, para hindi po mga kapitbahay namin, para dito na lang po magbebenta sa amin ng mga sachet at saka mga bottles. Para hindi na magkalat sa mga drainage, para hindi pa po tayo bumaha.
Barangay po namin, kalapit po mismo ng San Juan River. Malaki pong tulong yung pagkakaroon ng aling tindera sa barangay namin. Yung mga basura o plastics na dati pong iniitsa lang sa ilog, ngayon po iniipon ng mga tao. At ito po ay binibenta. Nagkakaroon po sila ng income kahit papaano.
Nung nagkaroon kami ng aling tindera project, luminis na ang amin mga lugar.
Ako po bilang isang chairman po na nagkaroon po ng ganitong proyekto sa aming barangay ay naghihikayat. Natanggapin niyo po ang ganitong proyekto sa inyo pong mga barangay, hindi lang po sa Metro Manila, kundi maging po sa iba pang lugar dito sa ating bansa.
So, in terms of the Aling Tindera program, there are different location types po. We also work with MRFs, barangay halls, subdivisions, and spaces in the barangays where we provide this type of container vans po. We accept all types of plastics, PET, e-commerce pouches, bubble wrap, sachets, bottles, sandbags. We accept those types of plastics as long as it's clean and dry. And we are also located po in various locations. So for barangays po where we work with the aling tinderas, there's a waste to cash component. So kapag po nag-drop off kayo ng plastic, there's an equivalent cash component po. But we also have partnerships with SM Supermalls and Mega World where you can drop off your plastic waste to their locations. This one naman po is more of a donation. So you can drop off your plastic waste. There's no waste to cash component po, but you can be assured that the plastics that you drop off will not end up in landfills or the natural environment. So in terms of where we are located, we have a lot of locations po. Our first partnership was in the city of Manila. So for more information po, you can visit our social media pages, Plastic Credit Exchange on Facebook, Instagram, send us a message. You can also find us on Google Maps. Just search Aling Tindera. You'll be able to find the available locations nearest you. So in the city of Manila, we do have various locations as well. We do have Quezon City. We have in SM City Fairview, North EDSA. We have in Pasay City in Mall of Asia. In Mandaluyong, we are present in Mega Mall. In Marikina, we are present in SM Marikina, Pasig City, SM East Ortigas, and soon po we will have Aling Tindera locations also. We are present in SM City Marilao and do have an Aling Tindera there as well. For Las Piñas, we are in SM South Mall. And we do have regional locations as well in SM City Davao and SM City Cebu. So we are present in a lot of locations. We're working on being present in 100 locations by end of this year through our Aling Tindera and through our SM and Mega World partnerships as well. So just for purposes of those who are in this call and who would want to be part, to be dropping off their plastic in either Aling Tindera or plastic collections in our malls, why do plastics have to be clean and dry? So the aling tinderas and also those who are accepting plastics are trained to just accept clean and dry plastics in order to avoid smells and infestations in container vans. So we want to make it safe for them, to make the experience pleasant as well. They're helping us clean up the community. So much better po if you can quickly wash, air dry, sun dry, remove any organic materials in the plastics that you will be giving. Where do the plastics go? So we send it over to partner processors. We cover the logistics and the processing, and all of the processors are audited by our third-party partners. How much do we earn from each plastic type? So this depends po on the market pricing. So this we do have announcement in terms of pricing changes. But currently, these are the current pricing updates that we have. So per type of plastic po, there's a different price point for soft plastics, for PET, whether it's colored, mixed, rubbers, styrene, hard plastics, and even tetra or multi-layer paper-based packaging. So much better po talaga if you're also able to segregate, differentiate the type of plastics, because that will help us and the aling tinderes be able to send it over to the right processing partners who can either recycle, upcycle, or co-process the plastics. How can we find the aling tindera sites? So it can be found both in Waze po and Google Maps, aside easier po kasi to find the SM locations. But for on Waze, you can just type in Aling Tindera Barangay and mag-a-appear na po yung the nearest Aling Tindera near you. And also, as I mentioned before, you can reach out to us through Facebook and Instagram as well. We have junk shops in the area. Are your prices competitive? So we do not want po to compete with junk shops. So what we want to do is to encourage community members to sell items to junk shops, especially if they have better prices, because these junk shops also deliver to recycling facilities as well. So we do not want to compete with them. We just want to make sure that we are able to make it accessible for everybody, yung waste po where they can drop off their plastic. And we understand that some plastics are not accepted by junk shops, and the Aling Tinderas and the SM locations, Mega World locations, are more than happy to buy this to keep them out of the environment. So basically po, that's it for our presentation for today. We want to be the generation that helps solve the plastic pollution crisis. If you would like to know more about how you can participate, whether as a brand partner, an aggregator, a processor, or as a concerned community citizen, and you want to be able to help out and be part of the network, you may reach out to us through our different social media platforms. And also you can reach out to our, you can check out our website at www.plasticcreditexchange.com, and you can send us emails, info@plasticcreditexchange.com, partnerships@plasticcreditexchange.com as well. So thank you very much po, and now we're very happy to turn over the floor to our moderator po for the next part of this webinar. Thank you po.
Thank you very much po, Ms. Meg, for the very informative presentation. I have learned po that the private sector and the government should really work hand in hand po in order to effectively reduce the use of plastics, especially plastic wastes that enters our environment. We are also thankful to PCX measures and initiatives po to achieve a more circular economy that is beneficial not just to our environment, but to the businesses and us consumers as well. And also, I just want to reiterate po na those who have plastics to dispose, you may drop it po sa Aling Tenderas, which can be found sa ating Google Maps or Waze. And at this moment po, we are opening the session for the Q&A portion. But before we proceed, please be reminded to stay muted unless you are addressing the speakers and moderators directly. Please also be informed that you can download a copy of the presentation material after you have accomplished the client satisfaction feedback form that will be posted in the chat box section. So to make this portion interactive, we encourage everyone to click the raise hand button po so we can call you to ask directly to our speaker. Kindly limit your questions to 1 to 2 only, but you can also send in your questions po through the chat box. So a while ago po, Sir Jonathan was raising his hand. So Sir Jonathan, you may now unmute yourself po. Okay, balikan na lang po natin si Sir John.
Hello? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Ay tinype ko na lang, tinype ko na lang yung questions ko. Medyo 4 or 5 yata siya.
Okay po, but do you want to address it na lang po directly?
Okay, sige. Kasi 4 to eh. Hold on po. Okay. Number 1 is, does the brand owner have the option whether to have the post-consumer plastics recycled, upcycled, or co-processed? That's the number 1 question. And will PCX be is PCX going to be part of the PRO or yung Producers Responsibility Organization? If yes, what will be its role? And number 3, I read in an article that Century Pacific Group, specifically Century Pacific Foods and Shakey's, has signed an agreement with Republic Cement for co-processing. To date, mga ilang tonelada na kaya yung mga plastic waste na co-process nila. And in terms of the fiscal incentives, kasi na-mention ito sa House Bill and the Senate version as well, mayroong mga incentives for obliged companies. So will the BIR recognize the credits you will be issuing to obliged companies? Thank you, ma'am.
Right, thank you so much, Mr. Jonathan. You're from which organization po?
San Miguel Brewery po.
All right, great. Thank you so much po. So I'll be answering maybe the first 3 questions and then I'll leave the 4th question to Richard, who's our compliance manager. So first question po, does the brand owner have the option? Yes. So definitely provide that option. Of course, we encourage for the brands to hopefully support more higher level processing. But we understand, every step, kumbaga po, we're focusing on progress of perfection. So as long as it's right now po, we're really addressing a very urgent crisis. So as long as it doesn't end up in nature, we leave that up to you. However, we want to assure everyone that whether it's recycled, upcycled, or co-processed, all of the partners that we are working with have been vetted and audited by a third party to comply with all the requirements as stipulated in the plastic pollution reduction standards. And later on, when I'll turn over to Richard, he can tell you more about the other safeguards as well. Second question, is PCX going to be part of the extended producer responsibility? If yes, what's its role? Yes po, definitely. We have been actively advocating po for extended producer responsibility and have been in talks and been participating po in all the hearings po from the Congress and the Senate. However po, since it's not yet implemented and there's no implementing rules and regulations po, we don't know exactly yet what would be the specific role. However, nothing will change po. Whatever we're doing right now, we will just continue and make it better. Basically, we've shown naman po that we are able to set up a market-based mechanism that would work. So we'll just be working more closely with the government and the private sector to see where else we can improve and how else we can help make EPR possible. Number 3, Century signed agreement with Republic Cement for co-processing. How many tons of plastic waste have been co-processed to date? Unfortunately, sir, I do not have the exact numbers top of mind. However, if you go to the website po, plasticcreditexchange.com, there is a plastic impact registry. You can search po Century Pacific and other companies as well. You'll be able to see po kung ilan na po yung na-process nila, as well as other companies as well, because we make it transparent. So we also definitely do encourage that exercise because we want people to see and understand that everything is on a transparent basis. So all of our other partners din po, the one where you've seen the logos before, you can also search po their commitments and how much they have sent over to processing as well. And then for number 4 po, I'll turn it over to Richard, our compliance standards and compliance manager.
All right. Thank you so much, Meg. And thank you for the question, Mr. Jonathan. And good morning to everyone who's watching and joining us this morning. No? So with regards to the fourth question, we are, as Meg mentioned, we welcome the development of the EPR legislation in both houses, and we hope that it will be finalized soon. So we actually, as part of our consultations as well, we were able to join some of these discussions. There is alignment with the EPR compliance definitions with what we use as plastic credits as well. No? So I think specifically on financial incentives, we'll just need to wait for the final guidance of the BIR and what would be in the law so that we can give you a definite answer on that. No? But in terms of definitions, in terms of being able to comply, we believe that the plastic credits would be in alignment or is harmonized with what will be required in the EPR legislation. So yep, that's it. Thank you.
Yes, thank you po, Sir Richard and Ms. Meg, and also to Sir Jonathan po for your question. I hope they have answered your question po. So moving on to the next question po. Do you consider plastic crediting a short-term solution to the global plastic waste problem?
Yep. If I may, yes, definitely. Actually, not just short term, but even short to medium and even long term, depending on available geographies. Kasi po, as we mentioned, definitely we highly encourage in the hierarchy po, diba, of waste management. If there's a way that we can reduce plastic, reuse plastic, recycle plastic on our own, that's very much encouraged. But in most cases po, plastic cannot be entirely removed from the supply chain because we don't have available options as of the moment. One, that people can use safely, and second, maybe that people can afford. So definitely, we are also working with brands and companies to help them find ways to find alternatives. But in the short and medium term solution, we need to make sure that we stop the leakage going into nature. Otherwise po, we'll see all those problems, diba? There'll be more plastic than fish. It can be a long term because again, available infrastructure. So for example po, in the Philippines po, kasi we're still building out, diba po? Hindi pa ganun ka built out yung waste collection schemes natin where we can be able to totally segregate the plastic, and we don't have available recyclers for a lot of the plastics that we use. Currently po, the only plastic that we can recycle in the Philippines is still PET. But in terms of full implementation, that will be hopefully by end of the year. And that's something na we're excited, at least po, diba, there's a full recycling facility in the Philippines. But there are many other types of plastics that there's limited infrastructure that we can recycle. And even for multi-layer plastics po, we cannot fully recycle it yet. So we're hopefully waiting that more infrastructure and technologies will arise. And as soon as those technologies are available, we'll be happy to work with them because our goal is to contribute it and make sure that everything is circular. So, Richard, would you like to add anything or?
Yep, thank you, Meg. Very well said already, but I just wanted to also add, that we hope for a full implementation of circular economy, and that includes, several solutions from, of course, looking at reduction, recycling, and reuse. And for those plastics, as mentioned, that cannot be replaced yet or removed, we would at least be able to introduce it back to circular economy such that it does not end up in nature. And aside from that, and this was also in the presentation, we know that we have almost 80 years worth of plastic that is in nature that we also need to clean up, and plastic credits and plastic offsets would be able to help with that as well. Alright, thank you.
Yes, thank you po, Sir Richard and Ms. Meg. Moving on to our next question po. We are a tingy country. Most Filipinos buy sachets because of its affordability. You mentioned po that sachets are accepted in drop-offs and aling tinderas. Will they still be accepted po kahit punit or hindi na po ganun kabuo? May minimum weight po ba?
So yes po, we accept sachets kahit punit po. Actually, ang requirement lang po namin talaga is as long as it's clean and dry. So if you're dropping it off at an aling tindera, hopefully po there's 1 kilogram kasi po per kilo yung pricing. But if you're dropping it off at an SM location or a Mega World location where there's no cash component, any naman po, kumbaga po sabay nyo na din po sa grocery runs nyo, will be able to accept no matter how small. Every sachet, every plastic bag that we can divert away from nature is already a big help. So as long as clean and dry po, yun po yung pinaka-important. Kung naka-shred na po, actually mas helpful kasi mas madali po siyang i-store. Mas masisiksik po natin siya in the container van.
Noted po on that, Ms. Meg. Moving on to our next question po. Do you currently have tie-ups with government agencies?
Yes, go ahead, Richard.
Yes, definitely. No, as Meg mentioned, we have a partnership with the Department of Trade and Industry. So thank you again for inviting us to talk more about our partnerships and our activities here. We are also working with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, specifically the National Capital Region office, no, and hopefully soon. I'm not sure if I missed anything, Meg, no, but hopefully we want to work with as many LGUs as possible in expanding the Aling Tindera Waste to Cash project as well. So right now we're working with the City of Manila, we're working with Pasig City, San Juan City, Marilao in the north, and Pampanga as well. I may have missed some. You can check our website for a more exhaustive list of our current government partners too.
Thank you po, Sir Richard. For our next question, do you have a reference online on the brands who offset their plastics? This will be helpful for consumers as reference to support these brands.
Actually, yes po. So online po, you can check out on plasticreditexchange.com. The list of brand partners are there po. On the bottom, there's a carousel, or you can also search in the registry. At the same time po, that's why we're also advocating for the badge on pack. Para po at least, you know, when you go to stores and you see that a product has this badge on pack, you'll be able to know already upfront that this brand is already net zero plastic waste and has already neutralized its plastic footprint. And we really appreciate DTI as well for helping us in support of this initiative as well, and helping us communicate to more consumers.
Yes, thank you po, Ms. Meg. We have a question here po sa ating chat box from Ms. Jessa Salido, Copico Philippines Corporation. Hi ma'am, do you accept all types of plastic sachets?
Yes po. So all types, all brands. So regardless po if we are partners with you or not, it's brand agnostic. So lahat po ng types, may brand, wala. There's also a question there if we accept shredded clean sachets contained in PET soda bottles. Yes po. So any type of plastic po, as long as it's clean and dry, we're able to accept it. Just look out po which location is nearest to you, and we're hoping we're going to make that more accessible po to more consumers po.
Alright po. For our next question, regarding sa drop-offs po, may list po ba kayo online for easier reference available locations?
Go ahead, Richard.
So it would be helpful if you can visit I think our Facebook page has some maps and figures available no, on where we are. And actually, we're also on Google Maps. So you can search Aling Tindera or SM Plastic Waste Collection to guide you kung saan kami present. Hopefully, mag-grow pa yun everywhere in the Philippines. No? So that wherever you are, you can bring your clean, empty, and dry plastic so that we can use it for, we can divert it away from the environment.
Thank you po, Sir Richard, Miss Meg. We have a question here then po from Eliza Pang. I believe Sir Richard has already answered this po, but let me read it po. Hello, I am from a company that makes recycled plastic lumber from post-consumer plastics. Is there a way to partner with PCX with regards to using the plastic that is collected?
So yes, definitely. And thanks, Alisa, for that question. No? So aside from working with brands and consumers, PCX also would like to work with as many recyclers, upcyclers, or anyone who's using post-consumer plastic to give it a second, third, fourth life. We'd love to connect with you. I think I reached out with asking about some contact details. But if there's anyone else who's watching, who's using plastic in their own processing, please let us know. We'd love to talk to you and see how we can build a partnership and help support you as well.
Noted po. So, Miss Eliza, you may coordinate po directly with PCX po. For those who still have questions po, we encourage you to click the raise hand button so we can call you to ask directly to our speaker. So we have a question here sent to us by a chat box. What are the challenges in plastic crediting and offsetting?
Okay, so Meg, let me answer that first. No, so plastic credits is fairly a new space. No, so part of the challenges there is introducing the concept, and that's why we're very thankful to have this platform to talk more about it. And one of the solutions that we have is that we put together what we call the plastic pollution reduction standards. No, so yung PPRS, that is the first in the world, and it actually defines the entire platform. What is a plastic credit? How do companies become certified? What are the requirements for us to work with a company who's recycling or processing? So one big challenge is, introducing this system, and we're very happy that there's developments in the EPR space as well, because this helps mainstream what we're trying to do at PCX as well. No? So on the top of my head, that is one of the big challenges that we faced. And hopefully we're able to solve that through communications like this and documents like the standard. Did you want to add anything to that, Meng?
Yep. I think definitely one of the challenges in terms of plastic credits is because it's a new space. It would be very, very helpful talaga if we can get more players. If there's really more demand for it. Kasi you would see naman po, diba? The more there is a demand for plastic credits, the more we're able to clean up, the more communities we're able to help, the more infrastructure we can build. So it's really that po. And also, aside from that, really encouraging more people po to participate, whether dropping off your plastics, there's really a behavior change din po that's needed as well. So part of, we didn't mention it in the presentation, but part of the work that we're also doing through PCX Solutions as well as our partnership with Hope and other projects is to also educate consumers about responsible consumption, about how their consumption practices and how their disposal practices would be helpful into making sure that they're so plastic leaking in nature. So it's really it's a complex problem, but we are hopeful that we're able to do more, especially if there will be more partners who will be helping us in this front. So we're really very thankful with the private-public partnership as well, with our partnership with and engagements with institutions like PTI, was very much helping us as well in this advocacy.
Yes po, I agree po. All of us should really work hand in hand po para ma-reduce po ang ating plastic waste. So we have an additional question here po, Ms. Meg and Sir Richard from Sir Jonathan Chua. Do you have a recommended list of monomer packaging materials in place of multi-layer?
Yep. For that po, Mr. Jonathan, I'd recommend you to, I think we'll reach out to you separately. PCX Solutions is that's something PCX Solutions can help you with. Definitely, of course, two-pronged po siya. So on um, alternative packaging materials and other solution sets, PCX Solutions, and then for offsetting and plastic credits for your available plastic waste, PCX Markets will be able to help you. Do we have a mobile app? Not yet. That prefer to have the plastics picked up. Not yet po. Actually, we've been trying and exploring ways in terms of delivery. But one of the challenges po that we encountered is making sure po kasi that the plastics that are being delivered are good quality kasi po we've also experienced na may mga lamang ibang bagay yung mga plastics na dinadrop off. So we also want to make sure na hindi naman po kawawa yung mga delivery people po na tutulong sa atin. So it's still in the works po, but if you have any suggestions, please feel free to reach out to us. Any partnerships that you have in mind, and we can work together to find a solution and make it easier. So hopefully po, with more locations being accessible, it will be part of the, kumbaga po, part na po siya of the yung lakad. Every time punta ka sa mall, dalhin mo muna yung plastic, drop off mo muna, and then you go to your other activities inside the mall. Or if you're near an aling tindera, kung bibili ka sa sari-sari store, dalhin mo na din yung plastic na meron ka sa bahay. And then, there's that exchange as well.
All right po, thank you po, Ms. Meg. Yes, Sir Jonathan, do you want to ask a follow-up question po? You may now unmute yourself po.
Yes, Ms. Meg, question. If, let's say, industrial wastes such as, let's say, dilapidated plastic pallets, cases, let's say beer cases that you want to dispose of, do we bring that to the collection centers in malls, or do you have other bigger collection points in the country where they could accept bigger loads of plastic wastes?
Okay, Sir Jonathan, thank you for the question. No? So for the collection points that we have, the Aling Tindera, the SM malls, and even the plastic credits, well, if you look at the standards, they're primarily focused on post-consumer waste. So we wanted to delineate it with industrial waste or manufacturing waste. However, as part of our bigger purpose po and solution, if you have queries like that with regards to your own plastic waste, we'd be very much interested to know and understand and see if we can tap on our processing partners who may be able to who are interested to use those plastics that you have so that they don't end up in landfills or anywhere else in nature. So maybe I can reach out to you separately on industrial waste, Sir Jonathan. Thank you.
Yes, thank you po, Sir Richard. We have received a question po from the chat box from Anna Loxin. When you do the plastic footprint audit service for a company, what is the basis? How do you measure and certify it? Is it based on their sales to the public, and does a credible body certify?
Let me take that as well, Meg. No? So part of the standards po is to use what we call the plastic footprint calculator. So that is an initial workable system where we can map out all the plastics that are being used by the company, either for a certain product, a certain brand, or even the entire company. So that will be the basis. It's based on plastics that are being used in production and not on plastics going out as sales. No? And then that plastic footprint would have to be audited by a third party partner like a PwC or an Ernst & Young, and they will be the one to make the final review and recommendation on how much plastics would need to be offset or would need some corresponding plastic credits as well. So there are tools that are in place and they're provided in the standards, also readily available po, in our website. You can also check it out. And then for us to be able to use that for the certification, that needs to be verified independently by another partner. So outside PCX and outside the brand. So these are some of the safeguards in place to make sure that we are reporting the right numbers, we're measuring the right numbers. And similarly, even PCX po, we are also audited when it comes to providing the plastic credits to the partners as well.
Noted po, Sir Richard. Thank you po on that. And you may also type in po your email address and contact numbers po sa ating chat box para po mas maging convenient po sa ating mga participants to contact you directly. Thank you po. And another question po was sent to us. Do you have an available drop-offs in Visayas, Mindanao, and provincial locations? Do you plan on expanding soon?
Yes po. So, Visayas, Mindanao, we have in Cebu and Davao, SM. But we are also already working with Aling Tinderas in Cebu already. So, Richard and our teammates from the Hope team have been working with the Archdiocese of Cebu. So hopefully soon there will already be Aling Tinderas in that location as well. In terms of regional, we have in Bulacan. I don't have the full list po, but on our Facebook pages po, Facebook page for Plastic Credit Exchange, that's where we announce po the Aling Tindera. And for easier po, na you can find which one is closest. You can use po Waze or Google Maps. Just type in Aling Tindera. The nearest one po will appear.
Okay po. So type yun lang po sa Waze, Aling Tinderas, or sa Google Maps po for convenience. Thank you po, Ms. Meg. For our next question po, what are the requirements and criteria to be an Aling Tindera outlet? Can everyone apply to be an Aling Tindera?
Right. So yeah, definitely, we're very interested to learn more about people who would like to be Aling Tindera Ways to Cash partners as well. So usually how we do it po is we go through the LGU. So we also need to work together with the LGU because this is also in compliance with RA 9003. And then we'll be able to be connected to the barangays and the interested parties as well. But definitely, if there's an interest in your barangay, please reach out to us as well, and then we can try to meet with the LGU where you are so that we can also introduce the project so that aside from you, we can also have several other Aling Tinderas in your province or in your city.
Alright po. For the information din po sa ating participants, the email address po of PCX has been sent po sa ating chat box. So you may coordinate or contact them directly. So, kung meron pa po sa ating mga participants na gustong magtanong, please click the raise hand button po so that we can call you to ask directly to our speakers. So, last call po para sa mga gusto po pong magtanong. Otherwise, we will close the session na po. We have here a question po from Noel Gapus. Do you have drop-off points, SMs in Pangasinan?
Pangasinan, not yet. But we're hopefully going to be in more SM locations po.
Alright po. Thank you po, Ms. Meg. I guess wala na po tayong questions sa chat box and wala na rin pong nag-raise hands. So, time check, it's already 11:21. So, we are closing po our Q&A portion. Thank you very much po, Sir Richard, for joining us in the Q&A po, and especially to Ms. Meg. So maraming salamat din po sa mga nagtanong sa atin. Again, Ms. Meg, thank you for answering all the questions raised po today, and also to Sir Richard po. We hope that our participants have learned something from the webinar po. Before we close the session, may we ask po Ms. Meg or Sir Richard kung meron po kayong message sa ating mga participants?
First of all, thank you so much for your time today. We always are happy to share the work that we do at PCX, and this is not just our work, it's everybody's who's involved, and more people will be involved also. We have hope in being the generation that solves the plastic pollution crisis, and we'll need all hands on deck. So if you have any interest to partner with us and join us in this movement against plastic waste, please feel free to reach us out at plasticcreditexchange.com. You may email us at info@plasticcreditexchange.com or partnerships@plasticcreditexchange.com. We'll be very happy to help you meet you where you are, find ways that we can help you, whether it's through plastic credits or through other solution sets that we can explore. So thank you so much for your time po.
Sir Richard, do you want to add po?
Yep, I just also wanted to highlight that. So one of our battle cries really is to become the generation that solves the plastic pollution crisis. And we call it crisis because, it's a big problem that we all face, and it affects, everyone of us. So as Meg mentioned, wherever you are, whatever you do as a consumer, as an employee, as a representative of your family, there's something that we can do, either selecting brands and products who are supporting plastic credit or plastic cleanup mechanisms, and it can also be with you segregating your own plastic, teaching your family on how to properly segregate, and then bring that to a channel that can use it for the circular economy as well. Or if you're a business, either consider looking at plastic credit and plastic credit exchange solutions, which can help you in your plastic waste strategies and plans. Or as a processor or as a recycler, we'd also love to work with you in becoming partners, and making sure that all of the plastics that we can collect can go into a properly vetted processing technology. So thank you again to the DTI for hosting this session. Back to you.
Yes, thank you very much po, Sir Richard and Ms. Meg, and also to the whole PCX team po sa pagpapaunlak sa ating imbitasyon. At this moment po, we are now closing our webinar session, and mula po sa Consumer Protection Group at DTI CPAB, maraming salamat din po sa ating mga participants na nakasama natin ngayong araw. Sana po ay marami kayong natutunan sa ating webinar today, at sana samahan niyo pa po kami sa aming mga susunod na webinars. Our announcements po will be posted in our social media accounts. So for more updates, please follow our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter accounts, DTI Consumer Care, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, DTI Philippines. And para naman po sa mga gustong makakuha ng kopya ng presentation material, huwag niyo rin pong kalimutang i-accomplish at isubmit ang client satisfaction feedback form para makakuha po ng link kung saan po maaari i-download ang presentation na ginamit ngayong umaga. Muli po, ako po si Una May Mortejo. Magandang umaga at maraming salamat po.
Para sa ating mamamayang Pilipino, para iwas daya dapat wais at alisto. Mainam maging mapagmatsyag at mapanuri tayo. Palakasin ang boses ng ating mga consumer. Dapat tama bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat. Tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng DTI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 416, For consumer care at iba pa, dial 1384.
Ipalaganap, karapatan at tungkulin. Kaalamang tama sa consumer ibahagi. Tulay sa kaunlaran, kalakalan ay palakasin. Ito ang pagbabago para sa ikabubuti natin. Dapat tapat, bawat presyo at serbisyo. Produktong pasado, lalo ang mga pangunahing bilihin. Ang kalidad ng mga produkto at serbisyo ay pangalagaan ng lahat, tayo ay panalo. Layunin ng BPI ito.
Ipatupad Price Act 7581, Consumer Act 7394, Product Standards 4109. For consumer care at iba pa, dial 1384.
Dapat tama, dapat tapat, mula sa DTI ito.